Welcome back, Ninja community and persons who have watched my quality statement and disclaimer video. If you haven't seen that already, you should probably go and check that out. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about some ninja history, okay? And some of this will be in the ninja language, and of course some of this, the ninja language can be very deadly, so I'm going to go over my quality statement and disclaimer real quick, in case you haven't seen that. Talking to people watching a video without watching the quality statement disclaimer video. Anyways, so bear with me real quick. The viewer understands my quality statement and disclaimer video. Additionally agrees that this is my videos is my intellectual property, and that this video could be treated as is with ballistic protection, which in short means I don't have a seal on it. Therefore, I don't guarantee the techniques under your application of the techniques. And if you're watching this video with the intention of using its content in committing a crime, that is additionally a crime. Actually using my content in committing a crime is an additional crime. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about ninja history. Okay, now I might be talking about some ninja history from a different dimension, okay, because from the dimension that I'm from, I'm not particularly a historian. I have researched a lot of the fighting arts and some of the history on my own over a very long amount of time, but I don't claim to be some sort of historian. And I have seen some archaeologists drawing conclusions, and even some supposed experts on ninjas and some of the history of ninjas get a few things that might have been based off of wrong conclusions that other people would have probably drawn wrong conclusions, in my opinion. Okay, one example of this is at one particular war. This might not be exactly a ninja war, but in one particular war, some people drew a conclusion. These are well-educated specialists in what they do. They drew a conclusion based on the remains of the people within the at the sites, and they drew these conclusions because of just how devastating one army destroyed the other. Okay. Now, they drew the conclusion that a lot of people were running. You know, a lot of people had died because they turned around and ran. They assumed that the numbers of the other army was much larger. However, it was mostly to do with the effectiveness of how they were fighting. Okay, and even the weapons, like that was recovered at the sites, could also, let's see, I'll just show you something I've been working on. Okay, this is something I've been working on as a blacksmith hobbyist or bladesmith hobbyist. Okay, this is for a pole arm that I'm working on, and it closely resembles a scimitar, which was the weapon of the one side of the battle, and the back of the blade had a sharp edge. Okay, that part's important. The back had a sharp edge. The scimitar looks slightly different than this blade here. Okay, so you had the sharp edge along here, and you had right up in here with a sharp edge. Okay, now if you look at the techniques within a scimitar, or even amongst like traditional fighting arts that use the scimitar, there's a technique in it called a wrap shot. And the wrap shot would be where the weapon is held high. I'll have to modify this so you can actually see what's going on. Okay, the opposing army had shields out front, okay, and the blade was held high, drew out their shield, and the wrap shot would come around the back, and the back of the blade would hit at the nape of the neck, here. Okay? This devastating fighting technique that one army had never seen before was enough that a smaller army had taken out a very much larger army. And the people who were recovering the remains and even seeing the weapons there had assumed that it was vast numbers, and they turned around and ran. However, I disagree with them because of the weapon of that army being a scimitar. Okay, that is one example that I'm giving you. Okay? The rap shot being highly effective against an army that had never encountered that type of weapon before. Okay, so there's another example of some ninja history that even supposed experts on ninjas, I don't know what reality they're within, but the reality I'm from, if you look at the supposed shields of Asia, they wouldn't make a very effective shield. Okay? And typically they were discovered by these people. They were discovered at areas where there would be like a conflict at a wall or a battle at a wall. There are even references to I think that supposed shield was actually more likely a hat or a helmet of some sort. And the reason I say this is because the references between generals, right? The references that they make to each other, they are oftentimes, when they get reports that their enemy was raising an army, the conclusion was based off of, and specifically put in their reports, that they were raising an army because they knew in that area that if the men were growing their hair out long, they were training for battle. Only certain people of a certain caste could grow their hair out long, right? Or the males of a certain caste could grow their hair out long because they were the nobility, like the samurai, right? And even with their snug fit helmets, wearing the hair up and underneath the helmet, right, made it fit better. The helmets that were offered to the lower ranking fighters, they were made more uniformed, and they resembled typically what they wore out in the field as farmers. And if they grew their hair out long, it was for the padding of those helmets, which is something you would want. You would definitely want if your lowest ranking fighters had to go scale a wall. They'd want some overhead protection while climbing up because the enemy's probably throwing something down. So when the people discovered these supposed bucklers, and it would probably make a very ineffective buckler, or a very ineffective shield for that matter, even the wider ones that was roughly about that wide compared to the person, right? Only slightly wider than their shoulders, the larger ones, within different areas in time, but still the same concept. Always near a battle, near a wall, and always a single strap. It'd be roughly the shape of a hat, something slightly curved, which is also depicted within some artwork that has survived throughout the eons upon pottery of that time period. So drawing the conclusion that that shields were anywhere remotely popular in Asia, in my opinion, sounds like malarkey. Okay? So, if you've watched the video so far, feel free to hit like hard like a ninja. I'm going to keep going over some ninja history. Okay? So, the, you have similar weapons that have evolved differently and for different reasons. Okay? Like over in Europe, the Vikings, they were really tall people. They were robust, tall people. And they were highly effective at using shields. And they sort of spread that out throughout Europe. Okay? And one of the supposed reasons, there's even references within their own culture, that they were highly effective with shields, was the blind side, typically the left, among the Vikings. And they attributed to this of being an attribute of, in their opinion, their culture before they were converted to Christianity was because they were created by Odin, who had missing left eye that he plucked out himself. There's other myths and stories, but they base it off of a flaw that they turned into they compensated the flaw of having a blind side by being highly effective in using a shield. And they spread all throughout Europe, and it was even part of their culture to marry within other families and incorporate into the culture there as part of their culture. Even the flail, which is highly effective with a shield, compared to the nunchaku, which is highly effective, one of the most feared weapons in the hands of someone skilled enough to use it. They evolved from a similar farming tool. It's so effective that in some professional type of sports, from the reality I'm from, they have banned it from medieval competitions because of accidental injuries and accidental deaths of their opponents. And it is very effective while using a shield. And it evolved differently from the same type of farming tool, where one end is heavier, shorter and heavier, turned into a ball on a chain and a handle. And this one, a nunchaku, over in Asia, evolved because they were smaller and it was more important to use both hands and be able to swap hands. Okay? So if you like my video, feel free to hit like hard like a ninja. Check me out on my Facebook under my artist name Malel, that's Emeleo. And feel free to subscribe to this channel to be alerted when I do random videos on this YouTube. And check me out on my Instagram, but I'm not going to tell you what my Instagram name is. You just have to figure that out on your own. And share my video with people who are ninja, but not with people who ought to be ninja, because they might accidentally learn something. So until next time, stay ninja, my friends. Stay ninja.